Okay, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about how to solve rational equations. We've already talked about adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, and how to write word problems. So today we get to actually solve these. The steps for this you need to write in your journal. First step is identify restricted values. Those are the values that would make your denominator equal to 0 because we cannot divide by 0. Second step, we simplify the equation. Third step, we solve. And fourth step, we need to check our answer. Is it a restricted value? So was it something we identified as not acceptable? Then we would say that's an extraneous solution. Also, if it's a word problem, we want to make sure the answer is reasonable. For instance, if we were solving for a speed that we were driving, a negative answer would not make sense because we don't drive backwards. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll start our first example here. So example 1. We've got 3 over x minus 2 is equal to negative 1 over x minus 3. So when I look at this, I need to check both denominators, or every term. What makes the denominator equal to 0? What would make x minus 2 equal 0? And you can just solve that off to the side if you want. So x minus 2 equals 0. If I added 2, I get x equal to 2. That is a restricted value. We call that RV, restricted value. It is not acceptable. We also have this one, x minus 3 is equal to 0. Again, solve this for x, and we get x equals 3. That's also a restricted value. So these are the values that cannot be answers because they are not in our domain. So our restricted values make your denominator equal to 0, and they are not part of your domain. Okay, so we've done step 1. We've identified our restricted values. Now we need to simplify our equation. Is there anything that we can cancel? There's not. There's nothing that we need to add on either side. So step 3 is solve, and we're going to solve this by cross-multiplying. Remember, we cross-multiply when we've got the equal sign in here. So top left times bottom right, bottom left times top right. So we get 3 multiplied by x minus 3 is equal to x minus 2 multiplied by a negative 1. And here we're just doing our straightforward algebra. 3 times x and 3 times negative 3. You've got to distribute. So 3 times x is 3x. 3 times a minus 3 is minus 9. And now negative 1 times x is negative x. Negative 1 multiplied by negative 2 is a positive 2. How do we solve this? We need to get everything to the same side. So let's add that x to both sides. So 3x plus x gives me 4x minus 9 equals 2. Okay, if I'm going to solve this, I should really go ahead and just move this over to the other side. So I'm going to add 9. Now I have 4x equals 11. Let's make sure I made no mistakes here. Looks good, okay. And if I, final step, I need to divide by 4. So x equals 11 over 4. Does 11 over 4 equal either of our restricted values? Okay, so it's not a restricted value, so it's good. That is our solution to our problem here. Okay, so that was our first example. Let's go ahead and do another example. And we'll do several of these so you get a chance to see it done multiple times. So example 2. Okay. If we have x minus 15 over x is equal to 2. Okay, the first thing is let's look at our denominator, identify our restricted values. So restricted value, what can we not have x equal to? And that's going to be whatever makes this denominator equal to 0. So we take our denominator over on the side and set it equal to 0, and then solve for x. Well, in this case, it's already solved. So our restricted value, we cannot have x equal to 0. So x equal to 0 is not an acceptable answer. So now to solve this, we need to simplify. And what that means is I've got to take care of putting these two pieces together. So this is really x over 1, and this is over x. So my common denominator here is x. So to get x, I need to multiply this fraction by x over x. So now I would have x squared over x minus 15 over x is equal to 2. Now that we have the same denominator, I can put them together. So I have x squared minus 15 over x equals 2. Once we have a single term over here and a single term on the other side of our equal sign, we can go ahead and cross multiply. We must remember that any whole number is over 1. So when I cross multiply, I'll have x squared minus 15 multiplied by 1 and x multiplied by 2. So x squared minus 15 multiplied by 1 is equal to 2 multiplied by x. I think we might have a quadratic here. 1 times anything is itself, so x squared minus 15 equals 2x. Now because we have that quadratic, I know we need to have everything on the same side of the equation before I can factor it. So I'm going to subtract the 2x from both sides of our equation. So now we have x squared minus 2x minus 15 equals 0. Okay. Now if I want to solve this, I need to factor. So I need things that factor, we'll do our little x, to negative 15, but they have to add to negative 2. So that's going to be a positive 3 and a negative 5. So my factors are x plus 3 multiplied by x minus 5. And when we're solving these, we set each factor equal to 0. So x plus 3 equals 0, x minus 5 equals 0. Subtract 3 and we get x equals negative 3. On this one we have to add 5 and we get x equals a positive 5. So this equation, we end up with two answers. And let's compare those with our restricted value. Our restricted value is 0, so these do not equal the restricted value. So both of these are solutions. We have two answers to this problem. Perfectly okay? Let's go on and do another example. Okay. Example 3. Okay. Let's do one that's a little bit tougher. X minus 3 over 1 over x plus 3 minus x minus 5 over x times x plus 3. Ooh, look at this one. Quite a bit more here. Okay. So, first thing we need to do is identify our restricted values. So I need to look at my denominators, and I have 3 denominators, but these are the same, and this one's actually included here. And I need to set each part of the denominator equal to 0. So if I set this one, I would have to say x equals 0. Oops, I went off the screen, didn't I? And I have to say x plus 3 equals 0. So if I solve this one for x, I get x equals negative 3 and x equals 0. So my restricted values x cannot equal 0, x cannot equal a negative 3. So when I finish solving this problem, I have to compare to these to make sure those are not restricted. Okay, now we want to see if I can simplify this. There's nothing I can cancel, because remember, you can only cancel within the same term unless they're multiplied or divided. And to simplify the equation, I need to combine both terms on the right. So I've got to find a lowest common denominator. This has an x plus 3. This has x times x plus 3. So my lowest common denominator is x times x plus 3, and I'll need to multiply this fraction by x over x. So if I rewrite it, I'm leaving the left side alone. X times 1 is x. X times x plus 3, we're going to go ahead and just leave it the way it is, at least for now. X minus 5 over x times x minus 3. Okay, let's combine these now. So we have x minus 3 over x times x plus 3 equals x minus x. That cancels, right? X minus x is 0. And minus a negative 5 becomes a positive 5. Still over. Oops, that should be a plus. So we have x minus 3 over x times x plus 3 equals 5 over x times x plus 3. Okay, so now we want to cross multiply. So top times the bottom. So we have x minus 3 from this top multiplied by x times x plus 3 equals 5 times x plus 3. This looks yucky, but stay with me. Do I have anything the same on both sides? Looks like I have an x and an x. These are both multiplied, so I'm going to divide both sides by x times x plus 3. And look what happens here. Cancels, cancels. So we're left with x minus 3 equals 5. Add 3 to both sides. X equals 8. Very nice. Is that one of my restricted values? Nope. There we go. There, our solution to this problem is 8. And we could plug that back into the original equation to check it. Okay, let's watch the next video to see how to solve some of those word problems we set up previous class.